The cold morning air felt heavy as he walked slowly toward the small church. His clothes were clean but old, and his shoes showed signs of long days and long walks. Still, he held his head steady. Today was his father's funeral. Nothing mattered except honoring the man who raised him with kindness. Even when life was hard, his little daughter held his hand tightly. She did not fully understand what was happening. She only knew her father was sad, and she stayed close to him. He carried her small backpack, filled with snacks and her favorite toy, because he could not afford a babysitter. But he didn't mind. She was his world. As they stepped inside, whispers immediately started. His ex-wife stood near the front, wearing an expensive black dress. Her new partner, a man who loved showing off his money, stood beside her with a proud smile. They looked at him with surprise and a hint of judgment, as if his sadness was something to laugh at. When he took a seat, he heard his ex-wife's quiet voice behind him. "Same old life," she whispered to her partner. "Still broke. Still struggling." Her partner chuckled softly. Did he really drive here in that old car? They both laughed under their breath. He heard every word, but he didn't react. Not here, not today. He kept his eyes on the photograph of his father, placed at the front of the room. His father always told him, "Dignity is free. Never let anyone take it from you." So he breathed deeply and stayed calm. But something unusual happened. A group of people in dark, elegant suits entered quietly. They did not look like regular guests. They walked with confidence, almost like security or high-level staff from some important place. They did not sit with the others. They positioned themselves near the back, scanning the room, and every few minutes their eyes focused on him. At first, he thought they were just guests he didn't recognize. But it felt strange. These people looked out of place at a simple funeral. Their suits were the kind that cost more than his yearly rent. Their expressions were serious, almost protective. Why would people like that be here? He tried to ignore them, but their presence made his heart beat faster. As the service began, memories filled his mind. His father fixing broken chairs. His father walking home late from work to save bus money. His father telling him bedtime stories even when exhausted. His father always smiling, always gentle. He felt tears welling up, but he held them back. Today, he wanted to be strong for his daughter. Meanwhile, his ex-wife kept glancing at him with a smirk. She whispered something again, and her partner chuckled loudly enough that a few guests turned to look. He knew she liked showing off. She wanted people to see how much better her life looked now, even in a moment like this. But the strange people in suits, they were watching everything. Not her. Not anyone else. They were watching him. When the service ended, the pastor invited everyone to share a few words. He stood quietly. His clothes may have been humble, but his voice carried warmth when he spoke about his father's kindness. People listened with respect. Even his ex-wife stopped smiling for a moment. After the service, guests began to leave. His ex-wife walked past him slowly and said with a fake sweet tone, "I hope you manage, with everything." Her partner added, "Maybe someday you'll catch a break." He only nodded politely. There was no reason to argue, but then one of the men in the expensive suits approached him. "Sir," the man said quietly, "we need to speak with you. It's important. Your father left instructions." The single dad froze. Instructions? From his father? His ex-wife turned around instantly, her curiosity suddenly sharp. Her partner took a step closer too. "What instructions?" She asked quickly, pretending to sound concerned. The man in the suit replied calmly, "Sorry, ma'am. This is private. For him only." The single father felt something shift in the air, a quiet tension, a mystery opening right in front of him, whatever his father had left behind. It wasn't small, and it wasn't ordinary. The real story was just beginning. The single father stood outside the church, unsure what to say or how to react. The man in the dark suit stood calmly in front of him, holding a small black envelope with a gold seal. It looked out of place, far too elegant, too formal, too important for a simple funeral like this. His daughter tugged gently at his sleeve, asking if they were going home. He smiled softly at her, but inside, his heart felt heavy with confusion. Nothing about today was happening the way he expected. The man in the suit spoke again, lowering his voice. "Your father asked me to deliver this only after the funeral. He left clear instructions." The father slowly reached for the envelope. His hands shook a little, not from fear, but from the sudden weight of the moment. Why would his father leave something so secret, so formal? Before he could ask anything, his ex-wife hurried toward them, her heels clicking sharply on the pavement. Her new partner followed right behind her. "What envelope?" she demanded, trying to sound calm but failing. "We were family too. Why weren't we informed about anything?" The man in the suit didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, this is private," he repeated politely. He turned back to the father. "Read it somewhere quiet, alone." The ex-wife's face tightened. She hated being ignored. Her partner crossed his arms, annoyed. "This seems unnecessary," he muttered. "Why all the secrecy for someone who barely had anything?" The father inhaled slowly, aware that all eyes were suddenly on him. He didn't want to fight, not here, not today. So he simply nodded, thanked the man, picked up his daughter, and walked toward his old car. Behind him, he could hear his ex-wife whispering sharply, clearly frustrated. Inside the car, he sat still for a long moment. The envelope lay on his lap, shiny and cold. His daughter hummed softly beside him as she played with her toy, unaware of the tension in the air. He remembered his father's voice again, gentle, patient, calm. "When the time is right, you'll understand," his father used to say. But understand what? He turned the key, and the engine coughed before finally starting. It was old, but it still worked. He drove to a quiet park just 5 minutes away, his father's favorite place, where they used to sit under a big oak tree and watch the birds. He parked under that same tree and finally opened the envelope. Inside was a single folded letter and a small silver key attached to a tag. He frowned. A key? To what? Slowly, he opened the letter. The handwriting was familiar, strong, steady, gentle. His father's handwriting. He began reading. "My son, if you are reading this, it means I have left this world. I am sorry I could not tell you these things in person. I wanted to protect you from unnecessary pressure and from people who never wished you well." He paused, feeling his breath shake. "Thought there was more. I know life has not been kind to you. I saw how you tried to build a family. I saw how you raised your daughter with love even when you felt alone. You always put others first. That is why I trusted you with something I never told anyone else." The father blinked as his vision blurred. His father knew. His father had seen everything he went through, everything he suffered silently. He kept reading. "This key belongs to a safe deposit box. Inside, you will find documents explaining everything, my work, my investments, and the legacy that belongs to you now. Do not fear the numbers. Do not doubt your worth. Numbers? Legacy?" His hands trembled slightly. He read the final lines carefully. "You will soon learn that I built more than I ever showed. You will learn that I trusted you because you have a heart that money cannot change. Whatever you discover, use it wisely. Use it for your daughter and for the life you deserve. Signed simply, your father." The father exhaled deeply, leaning back in his seat. He felt warmth in his chest, sadness mixed with gratitude, confusion mixed with hope. His father had left something big, something too big to understand from just one letter. But why him? Why only him? His eyes returned to the little silver key. Before he could think further, he noticed something in the mirror. A car. His ex-wife's car. It had followed him. He quietly slipped the letter back into the envelope and placed it under his seat. His daughter looked up curiously, sensing that something was happening. His ex-wife stepped out of her car and walked toward him quickly, her expression full of forced sympathy. "Are you okay?" she asked sweetly, too sweetly. "You left so fast. We were worried." He knew that wasn't true. She had never followed him out of concern. Not once. Her partner stood a few steps behind her, pretending to look casual while scanning the area. "Everything is fine," the father said calmly. "I just needed a moment alone." His ex-wife tried to peek inside the car. "Did the man give you something important? You know, for the family?" He gently moved his door closed a little. "It's personal," he said softly. Her smile faded. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and in that moment he understood something clearly. Whatever his father left for him, they wanted it too, and they would not stop chasing him, but they had no idea. Not yet. They didn't know that this simple letter in his pocket was about to change everything. The single father drove home slowly, the small silver key resting in his pocket like a quiet heartbeat. His daughter had fallen asleep in the back seat, her soft breathing filling the silence. The letter from his father replayed in his mind again and again, each sentence carrying a weight he had never felt before. His father had trusted him with something huge, something hidden for years, something no one else knew. He parked outside their small apartment building. The walls were old, and the paint had started to peel, but it was the only place he could afford. He carried his daughter upstairs and laid her gently on her bed before sitting alone at the tiny kitchen table. The letter lay in front of him again. He read it twice more, as if the meaning might change the third time. His father's words felt deep, almost protective, but hidden between the lines was a story he had never been told. For years, he believed his father lived a simple life, working long hours, saving every penny, staying modest. He remembered his father always wearing old shirts but keeping them clean, always driving an old truck but taking care of it, always smiling even when money was tight. His father's life seemed ordinary. But this letter said the opposite. "I built more than I ever showed." What did that even mean? He closed his eyes and leaned back in his chair. Memories began to rise like soft waves. He remembered being a child, watching his father leave home before sunrise. His father always said, "Work is work, son. It doesn't matter what it looks like, only what it builds." He would return late, tired but still cheerful, always carrying a small snack for him. At the time, he assumed his father worked a simple job. He never questioned it. His father was private, humble, never one to boast. But now, the key in his pocket whispered a different truth. He opened his eyes and looked around their small kitchen. Everything felt too quiet, too normal, too unprepared for whatever truth waited inside that box. He stood up and walked toward an old photo frame on the wall. It showed him as a child sitting on his father's shoulders, both of them laughing. Behind them was a large building, glass windows, tall columns, and a wide entrance. He had always thought it was just a nice background, a place they walked past. But now, he remembered something faint, something he had ignored as a kid. His father had a key on his ring shaped, just like the silver one he held now. He never asked about it. His father never explained. But could it be the same key? Or part of the same story? His phone buzzed suddenly, breaking his thoughts. A message from his ex-wife. "We should talk about today." He sighed. He knew exactly what she wanted. She had noticed the men in suits. She had seen the envelope. She remembered how the man refused to show her anything. She sensed there was something big, and she wanted to know what it was. He ignored the message. Tonight was not the night to deal with her. He returned to the table and opened the letter one more time. At the bottom, underneath the signature, he noticed something he hadn't seen earlier. A name. A company name. It was written in small faded ink, Silver Crest Holdings. He whispered it slowly, trying to remember where he had heard it before. The name sounded familiar but distant, like something he'd seen in the corner of a newspaper, but never paid attention to. He walked to his old laptop and typed the name into the search bar. The screen loaded slowly, the fan humming loudly. Then the results appeared. His breath caught. Silver Crest Holdings wasn't a small company. It wasn't a local office. It was a massive investment firm, one known for buying land, starting businesses, and owning properties across several states. The company had existed for decades, almost as long as he had been alive, and the founder's name matched his father's. His hands froze on the keyboard. All these years, his father had been more than a simple worker. He had been building something quietly, something powerful, something secure, something he protected not by showing it, but by hiding it. The father sat back, trying to take it all in. His father wasn't just hardworking. He was brilliant, strategic, private. He had protected his son, not with words, not with money, but with long-term planning. He suddenly remembered something else. Those nights when his father sat alone at the kitchen table, writing in a notebook. The son always thought it was bills or grocery lists. But now he wondered, was it business plans? Investments? Letters? Instructions? The truth was bigger than anything he had imagined. His heart softened with gratitude. His eyes warmed with tears. Just then, his daughter woke up and walked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. He smiled and pulled her into a hug, holding her close. "I'm okay," he whispered. "Just thinking about Grandpa." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I miss him," she said quietly. "Me too," he said. "But he left us something important. Something that will help us." She looked up at him. "Like a gift?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, a very big gift." He didn't say more. She was too young to understand. But he knew this. Whatever his father built, whatever secrets were hidden behind that key, they weren't just money. They were love, security, protection, years in the making. And tomorrow, he would open the safe deposit box. Tomorrow, the real truth would begin. The next morning began quietly. Sunlight slipped through the curtains of the small apartment, touching the kitchen table where the letter still lay neatly folded. The single father sat beside it, a cup of warm coffee in his hands, the silver key resting on the table. He hadn't slept much. His mind kept replaying his father's words. The company name, the truth he had discovered. Today, he would finally see what his father left behind. His daughter sat at the table eating cereal, humming a song she made up herself. Her innocence calmed him. She didn't know their life was on the edge of something huge. She didn't know her father was carrying a secret that could change everything. After breakfast, he dropped her at school and drove straight to the bank listed on the letter. It wasn't a normal branch. The building was tall and modern, with large glass doors and gold lettering. It felt intimidating, far too fancy for someone like him. He hesitated before stepping inside. A woman at the desk looked up with a polite smile. "Good morning. How can we help you today?" He cleared his throat. I need access to a safe deposit box. This key belongs to it." The woman glanced at the key and her expression changed. She nodded quickly. "Of course, sir. Please wait one moment." Before he could sit, a man in another suit approached him, different from the ones at the funeral, but still formal, respectful, almost trained. "You must be his son," the man said gently. "We were told to expect you." Expect him? His father had planned everything with such precision. The man led him to a private room with soft lighting, a polished table, and 2 chairs. A quietness filled the air, almost like the room was waiting for something important to happen. Minutes later, the man returned with a metal box, long, silver, and heavier than it looked. "This is your father's," he said. Only you have access now. The father's heart pounded. This was it. The secret. The truth. The man left the room, giving him privacy. With a deep breath, he turned the key and opened the box. Inside were several stacks of documents, neatly arranged. Nothing dramatic, nothing shiny, nothing that screamed wealth. Just papers. But as he picked up the first folder and began reading, his hands started to tremble. It was the original registration for Silvercrest Holdings, signed by his father decades ago. Another folder held property deeds, buildings, land, commercial spaces, even a warehouse. Some papers were investment summaries, showing steady growth over many years. And then he saw it. A valuation sheet, recent, with numbers he could barely process. His father's company, and everything attached to it, was worth nearly $500 million. He leaned back slowly, his breath unsteady. His father had built all this quietly, while working long hours, while living simply, while never once bragging. He never told his son because he didn't want to raise him with pressure or fear. He wanted him to grow with humility, kindness, and strength, not entitlement. And now, the entire legacy belonged to the single father sitting in the quiet room. He felt overwhelmed, grateful, scared, shocked, honored. His father trusted him with this. Not cousins, not distant relatives, not even his ex-wife. Him. He whispered softly, "Thank you, Dad." Before he could process further, there was a knock at the door. The man in the suit stepped inside again. "There's more, sir," he said gently. "Your father left letters for you, personal ones, and he asked that we arrange a meeting with the board of his company. They await your direction." The father swallowed hard. Direction? He could barely manage his bills. How could he lead anything? But the man seemed to understand his hesitation. "Your father trained a strong team. You won't be alone. He believed in you more than you know." The words hit him harder than the number on the valuation sheet. His father believed in him deeply, fully. After signing some papers and placing a few documents back into the deposit box, he left the bank with a mind full of emotions, not greed or excitement, but gratitude and disbelief. But the moment he stepped outside, reality returned. His ex-wife was standing near his car. She acted shocked when she saw him, pretending she had just arrived. "Oh, I didn't expect to see you here," she said, though her eyes were sharp, searching. He didn't respond. He didn't owe her anything. She took a step forward. "I think we should really talk about everything. Yesterday was emotional. Maybe we can start over? For our daughter's sake." He knew her too well. This wasn't about their daughter. This was about the men in suits, the envelope, the mystery. She didn't know what he now knew, but she sensed something big. Her partner watched from their car, pretending not to care but clearly impatient. The single father stayed calm. "I appreciate your concern," he said softly. "But there's nothing to talk about. I have things to handle." Her smile faded. She wasn't used to him being confident. As he walked away, she called after him, "If there's something I should know, I deserve to know. We were married." He paused briefly but didn't turn around. "If my father wanted you involved," he said gently, "he would have left something for you." Her silence behind him said everything. He got into his car, closed the door, and finally allowed himself to breathe. His life was already changing, quietly, powerfully. And tomorrow, when the company board met him, everything would shift. The next morning felt different. The single father woke up early, long before the sun rose. The apartment was quiet, with only the soft hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. His daughter was still asleep, curled under her blanket. He watched her for a moment, feeling a warm rush of love. Everything he was doing now, everything his father left behind, it was all for her future. He dressed carefully. Not in anything expensive. He didn't own expensive clothes. but he made sure his shirt was ironed, and his shoes were clean. Today he was meeting the board of Silver Crest Holdings. A company he had just discovered was now his. He dropped his daughter at school, gave her an extra long hug, and then drove to the company building. The office tower was tall and impressive, shining under the morning light. People in suits walked in and out with purpose, not one of them knowing that the quiet man stepping out of the old car was about to become their new owner. Inside, a receptionist greeted him warmly the moment she saw him. "Good morning, sir. The board is waiting for you." He felt a small wave of nervousness, but he nodded and followed her. They entered a large conference room with a long table. Several men and women, older, experienced, confident, stood up as he stepped inside. One of them spoke gently. "Your father was a remarkable man. We are honored to meet his son." He lowered his eyes respectfully. "Thank you. I didn't know any of this." A board member smiled softly. He liked to keep his world simple. But behind that simplicity, he built something strong. Something stable. Something meant to protect you. The meeting began, and the board members explained everything. How his father started the company from nothing. How he invested carefully for decades. How he kept his success quiet to avoid jealous relatives. How he ensured his son would inherit everything safely. Document after document confirmed the same truth. The single father who had been mocked for being broke, ignored for living simply, judged for his old car, was now the owner of a company worth nearly $500 million. Still, he didn't feel powerful. He felt grateful, humbled, responsible. Toward the end of the meeting, the board chair placed a small box in front of him. "Your father left this in his office. He said you would know what to do with it." Inside was a simple wristwatch hold, worn, scratched at the edges. His father's watch. The watch he wore every day. The watch that didn't look expensive but carried years of memories. He held it gently, feeling tears sting his eyes. One board member said softly, "He wore that watch in every important moment of his life. He wanted you to have it, to remind you that time is your most precious wealth." The father nodded slowly. It was the first time since the funeral that he allowed himself to fully cry, not from sadness, but from love. After the meeting ended, he walked out of the building feeling different, still humble, still simple, but stronger inside. His father's spirit felt close, but as he reached his car, he saw someone waiting, his ex-wife. She rushed toward him, her voice trembling. "I need to talk to you, please. I feel like you're hiding something." He took a calm breath. "I'm not hiding anything. I'm just handling what my father left behind." Her eyes searched his face, desperate. "Is it money, property? Something important?" "I deserve to know." "No," he said softly but firmly. "You don't." She froze. He continued gently, "We aren't together anymore. My father didn't leave anything for you. He left things for me, and for our daughter's future." Her expression changed instantly, shock, then disappointment, then anger hidden behind a forced smile. "So that's it?" she whispered. "That's it," he replied. "I wish you well. But whatever my father built, it's not yours to claim." She stepped back slowly, as if realizing that the version of him she used to mock, quiet, humble, struggling, no longer existed. He had grown into someone confident, someone who knew his worth, and she had no place in this new chapter. As she walked away, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his daughter's school. "Your daughter made a drawing today. She said it's for her dad and her grandpa." He smiled. Later that afternoon, he picked her up. She ran into his arms, holding a small drawing. It showed 3 people, a child, a father, and a grandfather, all standing under a bright sun. She pointed at the grandfather's picture. "He's smiling," she said. "I think he's happy." He hugged her tightly. "I think he is too." That evening, he sat at their kitchen table again. the same place he had read his father's letter. He placed the old wristwatch beside him and looked around the apartment one last time. Life was about to change. He would move to a safer home, give his daughter better opportunities, help others the way his father always helped quietly. But he would stay humble, simple, kind, just like his father taught him. As night settled in, he whispered softly, "Dad, I hope I make you proud." And somewhere in the quiet, it felt like the answer was yes.